Maria Santos grew up in a small mountain village where the sound of gunfire was as common as birdsong. Her father, Carlos, was a respected hunting guide who taught wealthy tourists how to track deer and wild boar through the dense forests. From the age of 8, Maria would follow him on these expeditions, carrying his extra ammunition and watching silently as he demonstrated the art of precision shooting. The other children in the village thought Maria was strange. While girls her age played with dolls and helped their mothers cook, Maria spent her afternoons practicing with an old air rifle behind her family's cabin. She would set up empty tin cans at increasingly distant ranges, adjusting for wind and elevation until she could hit targets that seemed impossibly small. Her father noticed her natural talent but kept quiet about it, knowing that the conservative villagers would not approve of a girl showing such interest in weapons. When Maria turned 16, the Regional Military Academy announced they were opening recruitment for their elite sniper training program. It was the first time they had ever allowed female applicants, though this change came reluctantly after pressure from the capital city's progressive politicians. Carlos encouraged his daughter to apply, believing she had abilities that surpassed many of the young men from neighboring villages who had tried and failed the rigorous selection process. The application process was brutal. Candidates had to pass physical fitness tests, psychological evaluations, and demonstrate exceptional marksmanship skills. Maria traveled to the academy compound, a sprawling facility built into the mountainside, where she joined 200 other hopefuls. She was one of only 12 women among the applicants, and the atmosphere was immediately hostile. During the first week of trials, the male candidates made it clear they resented the presence of women in what they considered their exclusive domain. They whispered cruel jokes about Maria's appearance, questioning whether she was strong enough to carry the heavy sniper rifles or smart enough to calculate complex ballistics under pressure. Some openly stated that the military was making a mistake by lowering standards to accommodate female applicants. The academy's instructors seemed to share these prejudices. Sergeant Rodriguez, a grizzled veteran with 30 years of military experience, made no effort to hide his skepticism about women in combat roles. During the morning briefings, he would address the male candidates directly, while barely acknowledging the women present. When Maria raised her hand to ask technical questions about rifle maintenance or ammunition types, Rodriguez would roll his eyes and give dismissive answers. The physical training was designed to eliminate weak candidates quickly. Every morning began with a 10-mile run through mountainous terrain, followed by strength training exercises that left many applicants gasping for breath. Maria had always been athletic, but the intensity was unlike anything she had experienced. Several women dropped out during the first few days, unable to keep pace with the demanding schedule. The male candidates took satisfaction in each departure, claiming it proved their point about female weakness. They began placing bets on how long Maria would last, with most predicting she would quit before the end of the second week. During meals, they would make loud comments about how the military was wasting time and resources on candidates who were obviously unsuited for combat. Maria endured these insults silently, channeling her anger into determination. During weapons training sessions, she demonstrated skills that surprised even herself. While other candidates struggled with basic rifle assembly and cleaning procedures, Maria completed these tasks with the efficiency of someone who had been handling firearms for years. Her shooting scores were consistently among the highest in the group, but the instructors attributed this to luck rather than skill. The psychological pressure intensified as the selection process continued. Candidates were subjected to sleep deprivation, stress testing, and scenarios designed to simulate combat conditions. Maria found herself constantly having to prove her worth, while her male counterparts were given the benefit of the doubt. When she excelled at camouflage and concealment exercises, hiding so effectively that instructors had difficulty locating her position, Rodriguez dismissed it as beginner's luck. The breaking point came during the third week of training. The candidates were participating in a long-range shooting exercise that would significantly impact their final scores. Each applicant had to engage targets at distances ranging from 400 to 800 meters, adjusting for environmental factors like wind speed and atmospheric pressure. The exercise was conducted in front of visiting military officials who would help determine which candidates advanced to the next phase. As Maria prepared for her turn, she overheard a conversation between Rodriguez and another instructor. They were discussing how to handle the women problem in the program, with Rodriguez suggesting that female candidates should be automatically disqualified after this exercise regardless of their performance. He argued that public relations considerations had forced them to allow women to apply, but practical concerns meant they could not actually graduate female snipers. Maria realized that no matter how well she performed, the instructors had already decided to eliminate her from the program. The knowledge filled her with a cold fury that she had never experienced before. She thought about her father's patient training, the years of practice behind their cabin, and the dreams she had harbored of proving that skill mattered more than gender. When her name was called, Maria approached the firing line with steady hands and a clear mind. The target seemed smaller than usual, dancing in the heat waves that rose from the sun-baked earth. The wind was shifting unpredictably, making calculations more difficult. She could feel the eyes of the male candidates on her, sense their anticipation of her failure. The first shot rang out across the range, followed by the spotter's confirmation of a direct hit. The second target fell with equal precision. As Maria continued engaging targets at increasing distances, a strange silence fell over the watching group. Her shots were not just accurate. They were perfect center hits that demonstrated an understanding of advanced ballistics that impressed even the skeptical instructors. By the time she finished the exercise, Maria had achieved a perfect score, something that had not been accomplished in the Academy's recent history. The visiting officials were clearly impressed, making notes and engaging in animated discussions about her performance. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Maria felt a genuine sense of accomplishment and hope that her abilities might finally be recognized. The perfect shooting performance should have secured Maria's position in the program, but Sergeant Rodriguez was not ready to abandon his prejudices. That evening, he called her into his office for what he termed a private evaluation. The small room smelled of coffee and cigarettes, with military commendations covering the walls alongside photographs of previous graduating classes, composed entirely of men. Rodriguez sat behind his desk, studying Maria's file with exaggerated skepticism. He questioned whether her exceptional performance was the result of prior military training that she had hidden from Academy officials. When Maria explained that her only experience came from hunting with her father, Rodriguez scoffed and suggested that she must have received coaching from male relatives who were trying to help her cheat the system. The interrogation continued for over an hour, with Rodriguez searching for any excuse to disqualify Maria from the program. He questioned her physical strength, her emotional stability under pressure, and her ability to function effectively in combat situations alongside male soldiers. Maria answered each question honestly and directly, refusing to be intimidated despite the obvious hostility in the sergeant's voice. Meanwhile, word of Maria's shooting performance had spread throughout the Academy. The male candidates who had been so confident in her inevitable failure were now dealing with the uncomfortable reality that she was outperforming most of them in the area that mattered most. Their initial mockery evolved into something more sinister as they realized that her success threatened their own chances of selection. The harassment intensified over the following days. Maria's equipment would mysteriously malfunction before important exercises, requiring her to spend extra time on maintenance and repairs. Her bunk area was repeatedly searched by instructors acting on anonymous tips about prohibited items. During group training sessions, she found herself isolated as other candidates refused to work with her on team exercises. The Academy's training program was designed to simulate real combat conditions, and the stress was beginning to affect all the candidates. Sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion, and constant pressure created an environment where tempers flared and judgments became clouded. Several more women dropped out of the program, citing the hostile environment as much as the physical demands. Maria's resolve was tested daily, but she drew strength from memories of her father's teachings about patience and persistence. Carlos had always told her that true skill revealed itself under pressure, and that those who doubted her abilities would eventually be forced to acknowledge her talent. She focused on improving her performance in every aspect of training, from physical fitness to technical knowledge. The next major challenge came in the form of field exercises that required candidates to demonstrate their ability to operate independently in wilderness environments. Each applicant was given a specific mission that involved infiltrating enemy territory, identifying targets, and executing simulated kills without being detected. The exercises lasted 72 hours and tested every skill they had learned during their time at the academy. Maria's mission required her to penetrate a heavily defended compound and eliminate 3 high-value targets while avoiding detection by roving patrols and surveillance equipment. The compound was located in dense forest terrain that reminded her of the hunting grounds where she had spent her childhood. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she felt completely in her element. She spent the first night studying the compound from multiple vantage points, noting patrol patterns and identifying weaknesses in the defensive perimeter. The guards were academy instructors playing the role of enemy soldiers, and they took their responsibilities seriously. Anyone caught trying to infiltrate the compound would automatically fail the exercise, using skills learned from years of tracking. Animals with her father, Maria moved through the forest with supernatural quietness. She avoided game trails and obvious roads, instead choosing difficult paths that would be less likely to encounter patrols. Her camouflage techniques were so effective that she seemed to disappear into the landscape itself. The first target was eliminated from a concealed position over 600 meters from the compound. Maria used natural vegetation to break up her silhouette and waited patiently for the perfect shot opportunity. When the target moved into her predetermined kill zone, she squeezed the trigger with the same calm precision she had demonstrated on the shooting range. The second target proved more challenging because it required her to change positions without alerting the guards to her presence. Maria crawled nearly a mile through dense undergrowth, moving so slowly that it took 4 hours to reach her next shooting position. The physical demands were enormous, but her patience was rewarded when the target appeared exactly where intelligence reports had predicted. The final target required the most skill because it was positioned in a location that offered limited shooting opportunities. Maria had to wait until nightfall and use infrared scoping equipment to identify her target in complete darkness. The shot was complicated by distance, wind, and the fact that she had only a brief window when the target would be visible. When Maria emerged from the forest 72 hours later, she had successfully completed her mission without being detected by any of the Academy's sophisticated surveillance systems. The instructors who had been tracking her movements were amazed by her ability to avoid detection while covering such difficult terrain. Her 3 simulated kills had been executed with textbook precision, at ranges that impressed even the most experienced marksmen. The other candidates completed their exercises with varying degrees of success. Several had been caught by patrols and failed automatically, while others had managed to eliminate some targets but missed others due to poor positioning or inadequate preparation. Maria's perfect performance was unprecedented in the Academy's records and could not be dismissed as luck or accident. Despite her obvious superiority in the field exercises, the harassment from other candidates continued. They began spreading rumors that she had received outside assistance during her mission, suggesting that her father or other male relatives had provided intelligence about the compound layout. Some claimed that the instructors had given her easier targets or more favorable conditions than the male candidates received. These accusations reached the Academy Commandant, Colonel Martinez, who had been watching Maria's progress with growing interest. Martinez was a career military officer who valued results over politics and had little patience for the prejudices that plagued his institution. He decided to investigate the complaints personally, reviewing video footage and interviewing instructors who had monitored the field exercises. The investigation revealed that Maria's performance was not only legitimate, but superior to anything achieved by candidates in recent memory. Her tactical decisions showed advanced understanding of sniper doctrine, and her technical execution was flawless. Colonel Martinez began to realize that he might be witnessing the emergence of a truly exceptional soldier, regardless of gender. Colonel Martinez's investigation into Maria's performance created ripples throughout the Academy's chain of command. Several instructors who had been openly dismissive of female candidates suddenly found themselves defending their evaluation methods to a superior officer known for his exacting standards. The colonel's reputation for fairness was matched only by his intolerance for incompetence, making his inquiry particularly uncomfortable for those who had allowed personal bias to influence their professional duties. Sergeant Rodriguez was called to explain his assessment methods during a formal review meeting. When presented with objective data showing Maria's superior performance across multiple categories, he struggled to justify his continued skepticism about her abilities. The colonel's questions were precise and unforgiving, forcing Rodriguez to confront the reality that his prejudices had compromised his professional judgment. The Academy's training program entered its final phase with only 37 candidates remaining from the original 200 applicants. Maria was the sole surviving female candidate, having outlasted women who possessed impressive credentials and demonstrated genuine talent. The pressure of being constantly scrutinized and criticized had taken its toll, but it had also forged her into someone capable of performing under the most difficult circumstances. The final phase consisted of comprehensive testing that would determine which candidates received the coveted designation of qualified military sniper. The evaluation process included written examinations on ballistics and tactics, practical shooting tests under various conditions, and scenario-based exercises that simulated real combat situations. Each candidate would be ranked according to their overall performance, with only the top 15 earning graduation certificates. Maria approached these final challenges with the confidence that comes from having proven herself repeatedly against overwhelming odds. Her shooting skills had continued to improve throughout the training period, and she had developed an intuitive understanding of environmental factors that affected long-range accuracy. More importantly, she had learned to manage the psychological pressure that could cause even skilled marksmen to miss critical shots. The written examination covered topics ranging from basic physics to advanced military strategy. Maria's years of practical experience with her father had given her insights into ballistics that complemented the theoretical knowledge she had gained at the academy. She completed the test with time to spare, feeling confident that her answers demonstrated both technical understanding and practical wisdom. The practical shooting tests were conducted over 3 days under increasingly challenging conditions. Candidates were required to engage targets at ranges up to 1,000 meters while dealing with factors like crosswinds, temperature variations, and time pressure. Each missed shot resulted in point deductions that could easily drop a candidate below the qualification threshold. Maria's performance during these tests was remarkable, even by the Academy's high standards. She adapted quickly to each new challenge, making precise calculations and executing shots with mechanical consistency. Her ability to remain calm under pressure allowed her to maintain accuracy. When other candidates began showing signs of stress-induced performance degradation, the male candidates, who had initially dismissed Maria as an unqualified intruder now, watched her with grudging respect mixed with resentment. Her success challenged their assumptions about gender and military capability, forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths about their own limitations. Some began to acknowledge her skill privately, though few were willing to admit publicly that they had been wrong about her potential. The scenario-based exercises represented the most realistic test of sniper capabilities. Candidates were placed in situations that required them to make complex tactical decisions while operating independently behind simulated enemy lines. These exercises tested not only shooting ability but also fieldcraft camouflage, navigation, and the psychological resilience needed for long-duration missions. Maria's background growing up in wilderness environments proved invaluable during these final tests. Her ability to move silently through difficult terrain, construct effective camouflage positions, and remain motionless for hours while observing targets exceeded the capabilities of candidates who possessed superior formal education but lacked practical outdoor experience. She seemed to merge with the landscape itself, becoming invisible to both human observers and electronic detection systems. During one particularly demanding exercise, Maria was tasked with eliminating a series of targets while avoiding capture by a hunter-killer team specifically trained to locate and neutralize snipers. The scenario required her to remain in the field for 4 days while accomplishing her mission under constant pressure from searchers who knew the general area of her operations. Maria's approach to this challenge demonstrated tactical sophistication that impressed even the most experienced instructors. Instead of remaining stationary and hoping to avoid detection, she constantly moved between carefully selected positions, never staying in one location long enough for the hunters to establish a search pattern. Her movement techniques were so refined that she left virtually no trace of her passage. The targets she was assigned to eliminate were positioned to require shots from multiple angles, forcing her to traverse several miles of hostile territory while carrying full equipment. Each successful elimination increased the urgency of the search efforts directed against her, as the hunter-killer team tried to predict her next position based on the pattern of her attacks. Maria's final target was positioned in a location that seemed impossible to approach without detection. The area was under constant surveillance, with multiple teams of searchers operating coordinated patrol patterns that left no obvious gaps in coverage. Lesser candidates might have attempted a desperate long-range shot from an inadequate position, but Maria possessed the patience to wait for the perfect opportunity. She spent 18 hours in a camouflaged position, observing the target area and noting subtle patterns in the patrol schedules. When she finally identified a brief window of opportunity, her shot was executed with the precision of someone who had never doubted the outcome. The target was eliminated cleanly, and she extracted from the area without ever being detected by the extensive search operation. The completion of this exercise marked the end of formal training at the academy. All remaining candidates had survived the most rigorous selection process in the military's history, but their final rankings would determine who received assignment to elite sniper units and who would be redirected to conventional infantry roles. When Colonel Martinez announced the final standings, Maria's name was called first. She had achieved the highest overall score in academy history, surpassing records that had stood for over a decade. Her combination of technical skill, tactical intelligence, and psychological resilience represented the ideal that the academy strived to develop in all its graduates. The ceremony that followed was subdued, lacking the celebratory atmosphere that typically accompanied graduation events. Many of the male candidates struggled to accept that they had been outperformed by someone they had initially considered unqualified for military service. The implications of Maria's success extended far beyond her individual achievement, challenging institutional assumptions about gender roles in combat operations. Sergeant Rodriguez was conspicuously absent from the graduation ceremony, having requested transfer to another assignment, rather than publicly acknowledge the failure of his judgment regarding female candidates. His departure sent a clear message throughout the academy about the consequences of allowing personal prejudice to compromise professional standards. 3 weeks after Maria's successful first mission, intelligence sources provided Alpha Company with information about a planned enemy operation that would require immediate response. A high-ranking enemy commander known for planning cross-border raids was reportedly meeting with local insurgent leaders at a remote mountain compound. The meeting represented a rare opportunity to eliminate a target whose capture or death could significantly disrupt enemy operations in the region. Major Thompson assembled his best personnel for what would be Alpha Company's most challenging mission since their current deployment began. The target compound was located in extremely hostile territory, requiring a team to infiltrate deep behind enemy lines while avoiding detection by numerous patrol units and surveillance positions. The mission would test every skill the unit had developed during months of operations in the border region. Maria was selected as the primary sniper for the mission, with Sergeant Williams designated as her backup and Corporal Davis continuing as her spotter. The choice of Maria for the primary position created some tension within the unit, as Williams had traditionally handled the most important assignments. However, her superior academy scores and flawless performance on previous missions made her the logical choice for such a critical operation. The infiltration route to the target compound required the team to cross 15 miles of mountainous terrain while avoiding numerous enemy checkpoints and patrol routes. Intelligence indicated that the enemy commander would only be present for a 12-hour window, leaving little margin for delays or complications during the approach. The team would need to move quickly while maintaining the stealth essential for mission success. Maria's preparation for the mission was exhaustive, studying topographical maps and satellite imagery to identify optimal shooting positions and escape routes. The target compound was situated in a valley surrounded by steep ridges, providing several potential sniper positions, but also limiting options for extraction after the shot was taken. She calculated ranges and environmental factors for multiple scenarios, preparing for various contingencies that might arise during the operation. The team departed the forward operating base before dawn, moving through terrain that tested their navigation and endurance capabilities. Maria carried her specialized sniper rifle along with additional ammunition and emergency equipment, while maintaining the pace necessary to reach the target area within the prescribed time frame. The physical demands were enormous, but her academy training and natural fitness allowed her to keep up with the unit's most experienced soldiers. Enemy activity in the infiltration route proved heavier than intelligence reports had indicated, forcing the team to make several route adjustments and take cover during patrol movements. These delays consumed valuable time and created additional stress as the window for target engagement grew progressively shorter. Maria remained focused on the mission objectives despite the mounting pressure and physical exhaustion. As the team approached the target area, reconnaissance revealed that the enemy compound was more heavily defended than expected. Additional security personnel were visible, and defensive positions had been established on several ridges surrounding the main buildings. The increased security suggested that the enemy commander was indeed present, but it also meant that extraction after the mission would be extremely dangerous. Maria and Davis established their shooting position on a ridge approximately 900 meters from the compound, using natural rock formations and vegetation to create an invisible hide site. The position offered an excellent view of the compound's main building, but required them to remain motionless for several hours while waiting for the target to appear. The physical and mental strain of maintaining perfect concealment while ready for instant action tested their professional discipline. Through her rifle scope, Maria could observe activity within the compound as various personnel moved between buildings and defensive positions. The high magnification revealed details about enemy equipment and procedures that would be valuable for future operations, but her primary focus remained on identifying and engaging the designated target when he appeared. The enemy commander finally emerged from the main building after 6 hours of patient observation. Maria immediately recognized him from intelligence photographs, noting his distinctive appearance and the deferential behavior of subordinates who accompanied him. He was engaged in conversation with several other individuals who appeared to be local insurgent leaders, confirming that the intelligence about the meeting was accurate. The shot required exceptional precision due to the distance involved and the presence of other individuals near the target. Maria had to wait for a clear moment when the commander was separated from his associates to minimize the risk of unintended casualties. The ethical considerations of sniper operations required careful target identification and precise execution to avoid harming non-combatants. When the opportunity arose, Maria's shot was executed with the same clinical precision that had characterized all her previous engagements. The enemy commander was eliminated instantly, creating immediate confusion and alarm among the personnel in the compound. The team had seconds to begin their extraction before enemy forces organized a response to locate and eliminate the sniper position. The extraction phase of the mission proved more challenging than the infiltration, as enemy forces quickly deployed search teams equipped with sophisticated detection equipment. Maria and the team had to traverse the same difficult terrain, while being actively hunted by pursuers who knew the local geography and could move reinforcements to block potential escape routes. During the withdrawal, the team encountered an enemy patrol that had been positioned to intercept their likely escape route. The engagement was brief but intense, with Maria providing precision fire to eliminate threats while the team maneuvered to break contact. Her ability to deliver accurate shots while moving and under stress proved crucial for the team's survival during this encounter. The successful completion of this high-profile mission established Maria's reputation throughout the military command structure. Reports of her performance reached the highest levels of military leadership, generating discussions about expanding opportunities for female personnel in special operations units. Her success challenged long-standing assumptions about gender limitations in combat roles. Major Thompson submitted a detailed after-action report that praised Maria's technical competence, tactical judgment, and performance under extreme pressure. He recommended her for commendation and suggested that her success demonstrated the potential value of integrating qualified female personnel into elite units previously restricted to men. His recommendations carried significant weight due to his own distinguished combat record and reputation for honest assessment. The enemy's response to their commander's elimination was swift and brutal, launching a series of retaliatory raids that increased the operational tempo throughout the border region. Intelligence sources reported that enemy leadership was actively seeking information about the sniper responsible for the successful assassination, placing a substantial bounty on Maria's capture or death. Alpha Company's subsequent missions required heightened security, procedures to protect against the increased enemy focus on eliminating their star sniper. Maria's growing reputation had made her both a valuable asset and a priority target, forcing Major Thompson to balance her operational employment against the risks associated with her high-profile status. The psychological pressure of being specifically targeted by enemy forces tested Maria's resilience in ways that academy training had not prepared her for. Knowing that skilled enemy marksmen were actively hunting her created a constant state of alertness that was mentally exhausting. But she channeled this stress into even greater attention to tactical details and security procedures. Maria's graduation from the academy created immediate controversy within military circles. News of the first female sniper to complete the elite program spread quickly through official channels, generating heated debates about women in combat roles and the implications for military readiness. Conservative officers argued that her success was an anomaly that should not influence broader policy decisions, while progressive voices claimed her achievement proved that gender restrictions in special operations were outdated and counterproductive. The assignment process for new graduates typically involved matching individual skills with unit requirements, but Maria's case presented unprecedented challenges for military administrators. Elite sniper units had never integrated female personnel, and their commanders expressed serious reservations about disrupting established team dynamics. Some units refused outright to consider her application, citing concerns about operational effectiveness and unit cohesion. Colonel Martinez personally intervened in the assignment process, recognizing that Maria's exceptional abilities would be wasted if she were relegated to conventional infantry roles due to institutional prejudice. He contacted commanders of several elite units, emphasizing her superior performance and challenging them to prioritize operational capability over gender bias. His efforts eventually secured her assignment to Alpha Company, an elite reconnaissance unit operating in the disputed border regions. Major Thompson, Alpha Company's commander, was a pragmatic officer who valued results above all else. His unit operated in extremely dangerous territory, where mistakes could result in casualties, making him reluctant to accept any personnel who might compromise mission effectiveness. However, Colonel Martinez's reputation for sound judgment convinced him to give Maria an opportunity to prove herself in operational conditions. Alpha Company's current deployment involved conducting reconnaissance missions along the border with a hostile neighboring country. Intelligence reports indicated increased enemy activity in the region, with armed infiltrators crossing into government territory to conduct sabotage operations and gather military intelligence. The company's mission was to monitor these incursions and eliminate high-value targets when opportunities arose. Maria's arrival at the forward operating base created immediate tension within the unit. Alpha Company consisted of 24 elite soldiers who had operated together for over 2 years, developing the close bonds and mutual trust essential for survival in combat conditions. The introduction of any new team member would have required careful integration, but adding the first female sniper to their ranks created complications that no one was prepared to handle. The initial reaction from her new teammates ranged from curiosity to outright hostility. Sergeant Williams, the unit's senior sniper, had graduated from the academy 5 years earlier and possessed an excellent combat record. He viewed Maria's arrival as a challenge to his position and credibility, particularly given the publicity surrounding her record-breaking academy performance. His influence with the other soldiers meant that his attitude toward Maria would significantly impact her acceptance within the unit. Living conditions at the forward operating base were primitive, with soldiers sharing cramped quarters and limited privacy. The addition of a female soldier created logistical challenges that the unit had never faced, requiring modifications to sleeping arrangements and bathroom facilities. These practical concerns became focal points for broader resentments about changing military policies and the perceived dilution of traditional military culture. Maria's first operational mission involved providing overwatch for a patrol investigating reports of enemy infiltrators in a remote valley. She was partnered with Corporal Davis, an experienced spotter who had worked exclusively with male snipers throughout his military career. Davis approached the assignment with professional skepticism, unsure whether Maria could perform effectively under actual combat conditions. The mission location was a mountainous area with dense vegetation that provided excellent concealment opportunities for both friendly and enemy forces. Maria and Davis established their position on a ridge overlooking the valley floor, where they could observe the patrol's movement and provide fire support if enemy contact occurred. The setup required several hours of careful preparation to ensure their position remained undetectable. As the patrol moved through the valley below, Maria demonstrated the same fieldcraft skills that had impressed her academy instructors. Her camouflage techniques were flawless, and she maintained absolute stillness despite uncomfortable conditions and the natural tendency to shift position during long periods of observation. Davis found himself grudgingly impressed by her professional competence and attention to detail. The mission's character changed dramatically when Davis spotted movement in the tree line across the valley. Through his high-powered spotting scope, he identified 3 armed individuals wearing enemy military uniforms and carrying equipment consistent with reconnaissance operations. The patrol below was moving directly into a potential ambush, unaware of the danger developing on their flanks. Maria quickly acquired the targets through her rifle scope, calculating range, wind speed, and other environmental factors that would affect shot accuracy. The distance was approximately 700 meters, well within her capabilities but requiring precise execution under time pressure. The patrol's safety depended on her ability to neutralize the enemy personnel before they could initiate an attack. The first shot struck the lead enemy soldier center mass, dropping him instantly and alerting the other 2 to the presence of friendly snipers. Maria's second shot was fired before the remaining enemies could locate her position, eliminating another target with the same clinical precision she had demonstrated during academy training. The third enemy soldier attempted to flee, but was caught in the open and eliminated with her final shot. The entire engagement lasted less than 30 seconds, but its impact on Maria's relationship with Alpha Company was profound. Davis immediately reported her performance to Major Thompson, describing her shooting accuracy and tactical decision-making in terms that left no doubt about her operational effectiveness. Word spread quickly through the unit that their new female sniper had successfully completed her first combat mission with outstanding results. Sergeant Williams found his opposition to Maria's presence increasingly difficult to maintain in the face of objective evidence of her capabilities. His own academy graduation had been distinguished but not record-breaking, and his combat experience, while extensive, did not include any engagements requiring the level of precision Maria had just demonstrated. The other soldiers in the unit began to reassess their initial skepticism about female snipers based on her proven performance. The success of Maria's first mission established her credibility within Alpha Company, but it also created new challenges. Her exceptional shooting ability led to increased expectations from commanders who wanted to utilize her skills for the most difficult assignments. This recognition came with elevated risks, as enemy forces in the region were known to prioritize the elimination of skilled snipers who posed significant threats to their operations. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy commanders had become aware of a highly skilled sniper operating in their sector and were deploying counter-sniper teams specifically trained to locate and eliminate such threats. These teams consisted of experienced marksmen supported by sophisticated detection equipment, making them extremely dangerous opponents for even the most skilled snipers. Major Thompson faced difficult decisions about how best to employ Maria's abilities while managing the risks associated with her growing reputation. Her success had made her a valuable asset, but it had also marked her as a priority target for enemy elimination efforts. The unit would need to develop new tactical approaches that maximized her effectiveness while minimizing exposure to counter-sniper operations. The mountain terrain along the border provided numerous advantages for sniper operations, with countless concealed positions and natural barriers that could mask muzzle flashes and sound signatures. However, the same geographical features that aided friendly snipers also provided opportunities for enemy forces to establish ambush positions and surveillance posts. Every mission required careful planning to avoid predictable patterns that enemy intelligence could exploit. The enemy's determination to eliminate Maria escalated into a coordinated campaign that would test every skill she had developed throughout her military career. Intelligence reports indicated that a team of 12 elite enemy snipers had been assembled specifically to hunt down the female marksmen who had disrupted their operations. These were not ordinary soldiers but highly trained specialists with extensive combat experience and sophisticated equipment designed for counter-sniper warfare. Major Thompson received orders from higher command to extract Maria from the forward operating base for her own protection, but she requested permission to remain with Alpha Company for one final operation. Intelligence had identified a gathering of enemy leadership planning a major offensive that could destabilize the entire border region. The meeting would take place at a heavily fortified compound that could only be effectively engaged by a sniper of Maria's exceptional capabilities. The mission represented the ultimate test of everything Maria had learned, requiring her to penetrate the most dangerous territory she had ever encountered, while being actively hunted by skilled enemy marksmen. The compound was located in mountainous terrain that provided numerous concealment opportunities for both friendly and enemy snipers, creating a deadly game of hunter and hunted across miles of wilderness. Maria's preparation for this final mission was more intensive than anything she had previously undertaken. She studied every detail of the target area, identifying potential shooting positions, escape routes, and locations where enemy counter-snipers might establish ambush positions. The planning process revealed that success would require not only exceptional shooting ability, but also tactical brilliance and psychological resilience under extreme pressure. The infiltration began before dawn, with Maria and Davis moving alone through terrain that intelligence reports indicated was saturated with enemy patrol units and observation posts. They traveled light, carrying only essential equipment to maintain mobility while avoiding detection by the numerous threats operating in the area. Every movement had to be calculated to avoid leaving traces that could be followed by enemy trackers. The approach to the target compound required 18 hours of careful movement through increasingly hostile territory. Maria's wilderness skills, developed during childhood hunting expeditions with her father, proved invaluable as she navigated through difficult terrain while leaving virtually no sign of her passage. Her ability to move silently through dense vegetation and across rocky ground exceeded the capabilities of the enemy forces attempting to locate her. As they neared the target area, Davis detected signs that enemy counter-sniper teams were already positioned in the region. Fresh camouflage materials and subtle ground disturbances indicated that skilled marksmen had established concealed positions covering the approaches to the compound. Maria would need to identify and eliminate these threats before engaging her primary targets. The first enemy sniper was located through patient observation and analysis of likely position sites. Maria spent 3 hours studying a ridgeline before detecting the almost invisible signature of a camouflaged hide site. The enemy marksman had chosen an excellent position with clear fields of fire, but his location was ultimately revealed by minor inconsistencies in the natural vegetation pattern. Maria's elimination of the first enemy sniper was executed from a range of over 800 meters, requiring precise calculation of environmental factors and perfect shot placement to ensure instant incapacitation. The shot was fired during a moment when wind conditions were optimal, and the bullet found its target with devastating accuracy. One threat was eliminated, but 11 more enemy marksmen remained somewhere in the area. The second engagement occurred when Davis spotted muzzle flash from an enemy position, attempting to target their location. The enemy sniper had detected some sign of their presence and was systematically searching likely hide sites with precision fire. Maria had seconds to locate and engage the threat before their position was compromised, and they faced destruction from superior numbers. Her response was instantaneous, identifying the enemy position through his muzzle flash and delivering a countershot that eliminated the second threat within moments of his first shot. The engagement revealed their general location to other enemy forces in the area, forcing them to relocate immediately, while avoiding the search efforts that were certain to follow. The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly as enemy forces converged on their last known position. Maria and Davis found themselves surrounded by hostile forces equipped with thermal imaging devices and other sophisticated detection equipment. Their survival depended on Maria's ability to continue eliminating threats while they attempted to reach a position where they could engage the primary targets at the compound. The running battle that followed tested every aspect of Maria's training and natural abilities. She eliminated 3 more enemy snipers during a series of brief engagements while moving through terrain that offered minimal concealment. Each shot had to be perfect, as missing would reveal their position and result in devastating return fire from multiple enemy positions. Davis was wounded during the 4th engagement when enemy return fire struck his position before he could take adequate cover. Maria had to provide medical aid while maintaining defensive fire against continued enemy attempts to overrun their position. The tactical situation seemed hopeless, with superior enemy numbers and Davis unable to continue as an effective spotter. Despite these overwhelming challenges, Maria refused to abandon the mission or retreat to safety. The intelligence about enemy leadership gathering at the compound was too valuable to ignore, and she recognized that this might be the only opportunity to prevent the planned offensive. She established Davis in a concealed position where he could receive medical attention from extraction teams and continued alone toward the primary target. The final approach to the compound required Maria to eliminate 4 more enemy snipers who had positioned themselves to prevent exactly the type of long-range assassination she was attempting. These engagements were the most difficult of her career, requiring her to outmaneuver and outshoot opponents who possessed similar training and equipment while operating on familiar terrain. Her elimination of these final threats demonstrated tactical brilliance, combined with exceptional marksmanship. She used deception and misdirection to make enemy snipers reveal their positions, then engaged them with shots that required split-second timing and perfect accuracy. The psychological pressure of operating alone against multiple skilled opponents would have overwhelmed lesser marksmen, but Maria's mental discipline allowed her to maintain focus on mission objectives. When she finally reached a position overlooking the target compound, Maria could observe the gathering of enemy leadership that intelligence reports had described. 12 high-ranking commanders were visible through her rifle scope, representing the core leadership responsible for destabilizing the border region. Their elimination would effectively decapitate enemy operations and prevent the planned offensive. The targets were positioned at various locations within the compound, requiring rapid engagement to prevent survivors from escaping after the initial shots. Maria had prepared for this scenario, pre-calculating ranges and environmental factors for multiple target locations. Her execution was flawless, eliminating all 12 targets in a matter of seconds with precision that seemed almost supernatural. The mission's completion marked the end of Maria's deployment with Alpha Company and the beginning of her legend within military circles. Her elimination of 12 high-value targets during a single engagement, combined with her destruction of the enemy counter-sniper team sent to eliminate her, represented the most successful sniper operation in recent military history. The impact of Maria's achievements extended far beyond her individual success, transforming military attitudes toward female personnel in combat roles and special operations units. Her story became a powerful demonstration that exceptional ability transcends traditional gender limitations, opening doors for future generations of women seeking to serve in previously restricted military positions.